Hi, my name is Coreen Zalot, and I'm here today with Arizona Metro News. Today's show, we are going to be having a great conversation with the mayoral candidate, Tim Seay. Without further ado, let's welcome Tim to the show.
How are you doing today?
Hi, Tim. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Now I can, yes. How are
Okay.
you today, Coreen?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. It's a beautiful day today, not too warm just yet. I'm sitting there and thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here. So, one of the first questions that you're running for mayor, and that'll be this November, correct?
Yes, that's correct. The election will be November 3rd, but I'm in the process of collecting signature and I must make the ballot first.
Okay. So there's a petition that we need to get people to sign up and support your efforts, correct? I think we have a link for that petition. We'll go ahead and
That's
add that.
correct.
Okay. So you're running against the incumbent, the current incumbent, Kay. Her name is Kay Galejo, and she's very well liked. What is it that you will do differently from Kay?
If I heard you right, you said what I would do different from Kay?
Correct.
Well, well, the difference right now, of course, she is the incumbent, so definitely she has the upper hand. But what I come from the community base and grassroots movement. I've been in the community for 20 plus years. Never really had a path back or anything like that, but I've been a big part of the economic development of Phoenix from outside resources. So I carry outside resources that most people don't really know. I've promoted scholarships. I've promoted helping out the homeless. I've promoted the veterans and also promoted senior citizens.
Okay. Are you familiar with Local First Arizona, the small business movement to promote local businesses?
Oh yeah, that's been a main focus of mine for a long time. To promote small business, minority businesses, and people that usually need a hand. During the COVID-19, small business got hurt a lot, and I tried to offer as much assistance as I can.
Okay. Um, so are you focusing primarily on minority-owned small businesses at this time, or is it kind of just Arizona local businesses in general? And what is it that you can do to help them?
Well, here in my organization, I have a pretty large organization, and right now during these crises, we've been trying to help the small businesses and also minority businesses. So just by giving them help in hand, whether it's by funds or gathering people from the organization just to patronize it. So we buy food, whether it's takeout, and we get other people to come in and order also.
Okay, great. And then what are some of the issues that you see happening in the Phoenix area that you would specifically, like if you had the top three issues that you wanted to address, what would those issues be?
Um, right now, it's safety of the city. We have some crises going on now, dealing with the police department. So we have to promote the safety of our city. So there's a lot of changes that can be done. We're looking at training and other things. That's the main one for right now. Economic value also, because I carry a heavy roof, so I can bring a lot of money into uh, Phoenix. And there's a lot of people now that's moving here to Phoenix. So we have some affordable housing, things of that nature.
Okay, great. So I love that you brought up what's happening right now with the police and police brutality. That was one of the questions I wanted to ask you too. Is what are your thoughts on that? What are your do you have ideas about reallocating funds? I like to say reallocating funds rather than defunding, because when we start to talk about defunding the police, people think, oh no, there won't be any police. And it seems that that's a misnomer or misconception about what that actually means. So when you have those conversations about defunding or reallocating funds, what is your opinion or viewpoint on doing that?
Well, like you said, Corrine, that's a negative word to say defunding. When you mean defunding, that means taking all funds away. So the proper word would be is to reallocate some funds to some other safety measurements that citizens can utilize and use. Also, big part of allocating funds should go to different outside training. Uh, and what I mean by that, because it's a lot of uh, mental and on today that the citizens and the police department needs help with.
Right. It seems that a lot of, that you're kind of addressing the homelessness as well as police brutality, kind of in the same, you know, brush stroke, if you will, because a lot of the homelessness is a result of people dealing with either PTSD or trauma or mental illness and health issues. And rather than having police go and address those types of issues, it sounds like what you're saying is that the funds would be allocated to support those communities in different ways rather than using police. Is that correct?
Yes, that's exactly where I see it. And to go 10 steps ahead, when you reallocate some funds that's not going to the police department, actually, it's a good thing because you are creating more jobs. And that's what people are understanding today, that you're creating jobs to handle other areas of safety that could be on the short end. So when you reallocate funds, and I, I think the numbers were pretty good. Of course, the police department may not be happy with that, but that keeps everyone working also. And we have to always think about promoting the safety of the city because there's the difference in how we operate. Now, I'm originally from Chicago, though. Um, Back in Chicago, if you work for the police department, you usually lived in that city. Today is a little different here in Phoenix, Arizona. You can have an officer live in a different community and not really know his community. So there's a safety issue on both ends. You don't know the community, you don't know the police officer, and it's a big difference. It's a big difference.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it does seem like when you are living, if you're an officer and you're living in your community, you're going to be a lot more familiar with, certain behavioral patterns and certain thinking and ideology and just lifestyle. Which when you have that familiarity, you already have that relationship already created and established. So then you're kind of coming more from a place of, a connection that's already in place rather than a stranger coming in off the street and ruling, you know. Um,
Yes.
So it sounds like,
Yeah.
there would also, I mean, because I know in the past we've had issues with there not being enough social workers and not enough funding for social services and things like that. It sounds like you are pro, I don't want to say defunding police, but pro reallocating funds. Is that correct? You are for that?
I'm sorry, Coreen, but I think you were saying about allocating funds to social workers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like first I want to establish if you're for or against reallocating funds. And then second, I wanted to ask if you are for reallocating funds, would some of those funds go specifically towards like social services, social workers and Teros and things like that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Always, we'd have to be for that. Now, I'm not on the police force. I'm know what that is, but it's pretty extensive. So if we can reallocate some funds to things that they may not can't handle, safety issues, and that could be social workers. And like I said before, that is creating jobs. We're creating jobs to handle those different situations. Like I said before, where I grew up, the police officer, uh, they were the social workers. They were the big brother. They were the people. If you went out to the park with, they were the disciplinary action if your parents weren't there. But it was more a family thing. You knew who Officer Joe was, and Officer Joe knew who you were. And he, 9 times out of 10, he already knew that you had a social issue, or if you had something mental going on, and he knew how to handle that situation without taking extreme measures.
Yeah, I like that. It'd be nice to have that again today. Um, so, so then, are there any? Because we're going to be wrapping things up here in just a little bit, but what is it that you think would be most beneficial to helping people of color, in particular in Arizona? Since it's become, it's a global issue. A lot of people are talking about Black Lives Matters right now and everything that's happening with that movement. What is it that you think would be one of the most beneficial things that Arizona could do to support um, the community?
Well, my biggest support right now, and you're right, this has become a movement, not just for the city, but for the entire country and other countries as well. So to participate in the protest, friendly protest, our job is to go out and to teach how to properly protest. So we need our leadership to get out there and properly protest, not to be get into any confrontations with the police, but understanding the reason why you're protesting. Not be out there looting and mobbing. That's not a protest. That's a crime, and that's what I'm preventing the millenniums now. Let's not get a record where you can't come to the table later. So you want your voice to be heard. We could properly do that. It's your constitutional right to protest, as long as it's in a friendly manner, and take your business. I always say my slogan is the time is now, and it is now for us to be heard. Uh, what society really don't understand is it's in America it's tough to be black, and um, we we are afraid, and it's a different climate and element for a other cultures that don't really understand. So I was riding with my one of my youths day before yesterday, and we were in the car, and the police passed by, and he got nervous. He hadn't done anything, and I asked him, "Why are you so nervous?" He says, "Just so much going on. Um, just our normal reaction." So it's time for training. It's time to understand why you're protesting. It's also let's not get a record and stay away from the. Now, there's a travesty what happened in Scottsdale because they weren't not protesting; they were crimes. So you have a lot of youth trouble now, and they'll be taken away from the table for at least 10 years because they're probably going to have a record. They'll probably get their rights taken away from them. They won't be able to vote. These numbers count when we're dealing with a situation that we have coming up now. And November 3rd, 2020 will be a big election time for local, state, and national.
Okay. Um, I really love that you brought that point up because I've been seeing, about the youth getting involved in the protesting, and then they're committing crimes and looting, which is ultimately going to go on their adult records, and they won't be able to vote or impact their ability to have their voices heard in adulthood. I think that's one of the most alarming things that I've seen. I just recently read some articles that there are certain organizations that have infiltrated the Black Lives Matter movement, and some of them are using specifically young people. And I think, I don't think that a lot of people are really thinking about what they're doing right now. I think people are emoting. They're having these very big emotional responses, and they're really upset. And, young people, and it's from, the whole rainbow spectrum of cultures and races that are involved in this right now, which is a beautiful thing to see everybody coming together and saying, look, this is not acceptable. It can't happen anymore. We have to change this. And then, but you brought up a very, very important point that I think when we become very emotional and we're triggered, we're not really considering the future. And I think a lot of those young kids are not aware that when they get in trouble and when they're doing what they're doing, that's going to have an impact on their voting capabilities in the future. So I really appreciate you bringing that point up. Have you also, what are your thoughts about the infiltration of the Black Lives Matters movement?
Well, I think it's a excellent time for the movement. Unfortunately, there has been deaths that occurred. This one just happened to be filmed, but in our culture, this happens every day. And I think that and I want to say the millenniums are they're upset about it because they have no idea about the history of civil rights. They have no actually believe in the voting system, anything like that, because they haven't been taught and trained. So, since my campaign run, I've gotten that 18 to 35 registered to vote, and before I got them to register to vote, they always ask, "It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make a difference whether we vote." I said, "Well, if you're not registered to vote, you're right. It won't make a difference. So in order to see a change, you have to make a change."
I agree. I agree. And it sounds like, part of the change for our culture could very well be having a, first time Black mayor, which you're stepping into that ticket, into that role. So how do you feel about taking that on? I mean, we need good, powerful leadership and role models. And it sounds like, that's exactly what you would be doing if, as an African American male and stepping into the mayoral candidacy. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that'd be huge because the youth. I'm in between the baby boomers and the millenniums and the my mature since I don't like because they tend to beat me up for that. So I'm mature. Uh, but um, I believe I'm in the right spot, or where people will listen, and I can get the youth to listen to me. And you asked, what's the difference between myself and the mayor? There's a big difference because that's I can empathize what's going on. Not sympathize, but I can empathize what's going on. Most of the things that have occurred, police brutality, I've seen that firsthand. I've seen. I grew up in the protest area. I understand. I understand that. I understand why it's important to register and vote. Why it's important to do the census. That is a big reason why we're not counting. So we need a voice that can go in and we can break it down where you can understand on a level what it makes it important. So I believe my voice, as for the African community, will go not just for the African, all cultures. I speak 5 different languages, and I believe I can break the barrier about down to any situation I need to.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'd be great because, you would represent so many people. I mean, Arizona is culturally very diverse, and I think that it's a really appropriate time to bring that diversity into our political realms as well. Um, so, are there any? When is the voting? When does the voting? Well, first you said we needed to get you on the petition signed and get you on the ballot. Do you know the deadline for that?
Yes, that's correct. I need 1,500 to get on the ballot. Now, during the COVID-19 and the situation going on right now, most people not really concerned about that. So it's been very tough to get signatures. It's tough to go door to door because people are afraid. They're afraid of COVID-19 and also the movement. You have our older generation that's like, uh, what's really going on? So definitely to get on the ballot, I do have I'm on pace to get that 1,500. But of course, with this culture of mine, I'm gonna need probably 1,500 more.
Okay, and the deadline to get that done, is that by August?
No, the deadline is actually in 28, July 6th is the deadline where I must turn in all signatures, and it takes about maybe 5 days to make sure that they all verified. Um, and after that, they will let me know whether I'm placed on the ballot.
Okay. All right.
So
And then
I need your help to get on the ballot. That's for
I
sure.
know we got to get you on
Yeah.
there. So
Hmm.
we got a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
which is good that we're talking about this now. Then, so one of the biggest things, it sounds like the first step that people who want to support you, the first thing that they can do is share your petition. Make sure we get enough signatures. You need as many signatures as possible, at least 1,500. You said.
That's correct. Like you say, share, go online. It takes a couple of minutes. And if you don't want to do it, what I've been doing with my senior citizens, I have them call on to me, and I get on the computer and I'll input the information for them. They're not too much of the gadget thing, but I have gotten a lot of calls from the senior citizen that's looking for a change. They're looking for a change. They're participating. The Millennium Group is also gotten really involved of getting registered and signing my petition. The problem with that now is if you register, you still have to wait 3 weeks before you can sign my petition for it legally goes through the system.
Okay. So we have to get this moving quickly. It sounds like it sounds like we're running out of time and we've got to get this moving quickly. So people who are interested in supporting Timothy Seay, please do go on his website, check him out, do everything that you can to support him and get his signatures so that he can be on the ballot. It sounds like we have had some technical issue. I'm not sure if Tim is still with us, but yeah, he's still there. Oh, good. You're still with us. Okay. I just want to make sure we didn't lose you. So I think that wraps up. Is there any last minute words that you want to say? All right. I think we might have lost his audio. All right, so we are going to do another show coming up real soon with Timothy. We're also going to have a couple of constituents come on and have an opportunity to talk with Tim, ask him some questions. In the meantime, please do support getting that ballot signed. There's the his web address is right there, and on his website you can find his petition and then sign the petition and get him on the ballot. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and call it a day. Thank you for being with us on Arizona Metro News. This is Coreen Zalot. I am your journalist, and we just had a great conversation with Tim Seay, who is a mayoral candidate coming up for the elections in November. Please like us on Facebook and our YouTube channel, and stick with us because we're going to do another show in the next couple of days with Tim. Thank you so much for being here today. Take care.